Well, today I'm back at Crookston Castle, as you can see, and this is quite an exciting day because last year they had some volunteers from the Friends of the Castle participated in a geophysical survey of the entire hilltop. So today they're going to announce the results, and I'm certainly excited to see what they found, because we're hoping, of course, for evidence that there was earlier construction, earlier use of the site than the 12th century. And this would vindicate Harry Bell's claim that this is actually a much older site and a key point in the Glasgow network. So let's see what they've got to say.
My name is David McDonald, I'm the chairperson of the Friends of Crookston Castle. Yeah, so thank you. Today is the culmination, I suppose, of many months of work. Some of you were involved in the geophysics survey that we did in 3 days last year in August, and there's been a lot of data analysis and data crunching over the last few months to get the results that we're sharing with the media today. Some of which we expected to find in terms of medieval structures around the footprint of the castle, which weren't a huge surprise to us. What really caught us by surprise was that we were able to go much further back in history than anyone has ever been able to do before. In terms of the story of Crookston, this has always been thought to be a medieval site, founded by Robert Crock, who was in the Norman era, who built his castle, we think, on this part of the structure. And that's been well surveyed by archaeologists over a number of years. We did find some archaeology outside of the castle fence line. This particular image isn't particularly great, but here, for example, you see these rectangular structures, which are probably other medieval buildings which are outside the current fence line of the castle. But our most important find, most interesting find, have been these circular structures on the other side of the moat out this way. You can see them pretty clearly here. The archaeologists from Historic Environment Scotland believe that these are prehistoric roundhouses. Can't say for sure whether that's Bronze Age, Iron Age. That comes in the next phase of work, which would be some radiocarbon dating, and then potentially some excavation of those sites. But for us, the story of Crookston changes quite dramatically from this. We're now able to talk about this as being a prehistoric Bronze or Iron Age site, and the people have been drawn to live on this hill for many thousands of years, millennia, in fact. So what is it? What's special about this place? What's drawing people to come here time after time after time for so many thousands of years? That's one of the questions that we'd like to try and answer. The survey results show us that the roundhouses sort of interlock or interlace or overlap with each other. So that also suggests like generational building. So knocking down the structure and then rebuilding. There's a sort of artist's impression of what we think a typical roundhouse of that era would look like. And this just demonstrates that idea of them being here for a sustained period of time, building and rebuilding over generations. We would like also, one of the next phases we'll be looking at is how this site lines up with other Bronze and Iron Age sites that have been identified, particularly Paul Park, Queen's Park, and so looking at what were the potential connections between the peoples of those communities in that prehistoric time.
So this is the bit beyond the fence here. This other part of the hilltop is where they found the imprints of the roundhouses dating back to the Iron Age, although they've still got to be precisely dated. That's going to be the next phase of investigations, see if they can find something so they can carbon date the site properly. Can't do anything inside the fence now because this is Historic Scotland, but outside is council land, so it should be easier to get permission to do some excavating there. Anyway, the main thing is that this has completely vindicated Harry's idea that this is a much older site than the 12th century. So there was a settlement here back in the early Iron Age. So David, this is really exciting, this evidence of Iron Age roundhouses. So what's the next project? What's the next step?
So I think what we're hoping for is that lots of interest will be created by the fact that we've made this discovery, and that we will find some supporters and some funders potentially for the next phase of the project. We want to do some radiocarbon dating to understand just how old the roundhouses are. Are they 2,000 years old? Are they 5,000 years old? That'll help us to really understand what era of time that we're looking at. And then we need to, as we are an entirely volunteer-led organisation, we don't have any major supporters or funders, so we're looking at the moment for funders and others to help us. This has been a community effort, it's not been an academic exercise, so in that way it's quite unique that this has been community volunteers in schools doing all the hard work, making a discovery that no one else has known about, properly known about for thousands of years. So we're really excited by what we found and excited for what comes next.
And how can people get in touch?
They can get in touch with us via our website, friendsofcrookstonCastle.com, or on any of our social media pages. It's free to join, free to get involved, and we are a friendly, welcoming bunch, and we're always keen for people to get involved. You don't need to be a history expert or a heritage expert. This is really, while we talk a lot about history, this is really a future organisation, and it's about making sure that this landscape, the castle and its history, are protected for future generations.